Hi guys, welcome back to the Improvement Season podcast. It is me, Steve Hall, and over the other end is Pascal Floor. Did you introduce it the last episode like that? I don't think you even did. We always introduce like that.
Well, what did you say?
I don't know if the last episode you sat down and I don't know if you introduced us like that. I can't even remember. Maybe you did.
Yeah, I did. And by the way, did you now put on a hat that you didn't wear in the last episode? I honestly don't recall.
You don't even. This is terrible. This is how good our memory is.
Yeah.
I can't remember that you introduced us like that, and you can't remember I was always wearing a hat.
And we were just taking a 1 minute break in between the episodes. So,
man, I am turning tomorrow 33.
Yeah, that's crazy. How do you feel about this?
I don't know. It's.
I promise you, Steve. Once you turn 35, you then look back and think like, why the fuck have I gotten, or when the fuck have I gotten so old? It just happens. I don't know how, but every single time that I see myself in the mirror or in pictures now, I think like, when was the turning point? Or it's just like turning old. I don't feel like it, but yeah. My outside definitely does. That's for sure.
The thought that comes to mind just immediately, I'm reading a book, maybe you should talk to someone, or she talked about like your therapy and the fact I've considered it. And this book is by a therapist and she's kind of talking through it's quite cool actually. You can basically read, I don't know, like 5 to 10 pages and she takes you through like each, like a different case or a different topic. So it's quite nice because I am not a huge fan of reading generally, like sitting down to read a book. It's just nothing that I'm super into, but I have been enjoying just doing that. And anyway, she is getting therapy herself and it's due to like a breakup with her boyfriend. And they'd been together and they were planning to get married and like have like a family and things. And so she was getting therapy and the therapist basically, there's a term for it where normally people come in for therapy for one thing that they think it is, but actually it's a bigger thing. It's kind of a sign for a bigger thing. And it seems like her bigger thing is because she said like, oh, my boyfriend broke up with me and half my life is over. And then she didn't mean anything by that, but he picked out from what she was saying. It was like, half your life is over. Anyway, I'm like, a third of my life is over if I can get as old as 96.
What's interesting is because the good thing is when you're constantly showing up to the gym and you're training 6 days per week, always at the same time, people start to know who you are. And the funny thing is that I met a surgeon there who's working in the hospital just around the corner. I think it's a lung surgeon or so. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. However, he was telling me about his oldest patient, and that was a 105-year-old dude. And he's saying like over the past 20 years, he has seen that more and more people get older and older, which is also statistically the case, that people are just older and older. Maybe we will be the ones definitely seeing the 100s. I don't know. Could be, or we are the unfortunate ones passing away at the age of like 50 or 60.
There's something going around at the moment about like people being able to like not anti-aging in terms of like women's like I don't know, health products and various things and like anti-wrinkles and that sort of thing has been a thing for years. And it's kind of coming to the male side, but I think there's like anti-aging from like age reversal.
Isn't it
Why can't I say that word?
Because of that one millionaire who tries to reverse aging by spending $2 million each and every single day.
I saw this also.
I don't know whether this is actually true, right? It
Something
could also
like that.
very well be. The thing is, funny enough, Steve, I was thinking about it because I'm at the point nowadays where I don't even know what to believe anymore, what I'm seeing on social media, because social media has become it's kind of a game of chicken, basically. Everyone's trying to get the most attention of you or from you because it's a form of monetization, or that attention from you can be monetized. And that's why I would imagine that many people do a lot of shit that is utterly stupid. We know this, but also a lot of people would probably deceive and lie just to get that attention. The more controversial it is, the more extreme something sounds, the more attention you grab and get. And in that example with reverse aging and that millionaire who spends $2 million on a daily basis in order to then reverse his aging. It sounds freaking funny, sounds entertaining, but I don't know whether I can't believe this. I don't know.
Like fake news.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, I even see it on like small levels. You may have even seen it, I don't know, with people where they're, I forgot what the word for it is, but they're basically embellishing the truth. Like the truth is over here, and they're like, what they're saying is still kind of the truth, but they've embellished it to the point where it's almost a bit of a white lie. Like so now it's becoming a bit deceitful.
Basically, a good liar. What makes up a good liar? It's the person who tells a lot of the truth, sprinkled in with some lies. That is then very hard to decipher if you were to fact check it to then prove that it's actually a lie. That's what you mean?
So, yeah, something very similar to that where, and also like it's crazy because again, people are saying this with AI, like people have, I think they've done like simulations with Joe Rogan talking to someone else and like it's actually completely AI generated. But even I've always thought this for coaches online, like there's always been copy coaches and they just put their logo over things and there's like transformations they've taken from other coaches to be their own. But now I imagine you could almost probably get an AI to give you a that's unique and no one would know anything and you could just write whatever you want.
I will censor this one because I don't want people to get to the wrong ideas and actually make $1 million with this one, because that's what it is that we are going to do. I will censor what it is that you said. I will just bleep it so that no one actually knew what it is that you've talked about.
These are like amazing we're coming out with. Yeah. It's very similar to our discussion behind. We've seen people who are not disclosing their like PED use. Like they have these dramatic transformations and it's not disclosed at all that there was a bunch of PEDs involved. And that to me doesn't take away from the transformation. It's very obvious to me as a consumer because we're educated in this space that that's probably happened. But to the outside consumer who doesn't know any better, they might just think, oh, I'm going to achieve that result. But again, I guess it comes down to even if you did have these available and this AI available to produce such things, you'd have these clients come in and they wouldn't get those results. And then it would be a case of, okay, now they leave you. But maybe there's so much turnover of individuals that it just doesn't matter. That also happens with very well-known coaches where they just have so many people go through that only survivorship bias allows you to see the ones that have survived and seen good results.
The reason why I was thinking about it is because on my Instagram feed, there are so many kind of business gurus, probably because of the field that we are working in, where it's like, so there's just the caption saying like, how I made my first million. And I was just thinking like, first off, it seems like everyone is a millionaire, which is definitely not true. If it was, and then they're giving kind of an explanation, a rundown of do this, go over to signing up for the Amazon affiliate program. Then go over to Pinterest, copy paste the link into that picture here, and then make money. And I'm just thinking like, what it is that you're doing is kind of cloud farming. You're basically chasing engagement, but I don't buy it for one bit that you've made $1 million off of this. You're basically fishing for attention because you know what sells is kind of the hopes and desires of people. And what many, many people hope and desire, especially in the day and age of social media, is to become rich and famous. And you're just basically baiting them with that kind of caption and stuff like this. And there are so many out there that are like this. And I know that a lot of personal trainers who listen to this podcast probably have experienced that at least once, that they had some kind of DM in their Instagram account or whatever from somewhat of a business guru with only 200 followers, with shitty posts themselves saying like, hey, are you interested in making 6 or 7 figures? And I'm just wondering, if you were to be, if you are so successful, I don't actually think that you would need to do these type of videos.
Yeah, I completely agree. The ones that get me the most are the cold DMs. And the thing is, no people really do this with us, so it's very obvious. But I get probably daily at least like 2 or 3 of these where it's just like people reaching out and going, do you provide online coaching? Or like,
it is so stupid.
do you have any spots open?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I just click on their profile and it says something like, I don't know, business coach. And I'm like, delete. I'm not going to reply to you. And sometimes they'll even send me a video and it's like personalized. And I'm like, man, I'll watch a few seconds. I'm like, I'm not watching any more of this. Why have you sent me this video? You have too much time.
That's because of those things. I have trust issues when it comes to what it is that I'm seeing on social media. And I think it has become ever more bigger because the social media and Instagram has become such a monetization machine. If you really make it as an influencer, you can make a shit ton of money. Yeah. And that's why I also do believe that many, many people fake it until they perhaps make it. I even know from a Chinese, I think it was a Chinese studio, who's only there for different kind of rooms that has been kind of prepared as kind of like a film set for influencers to take pictures. It's a scenery of like a private jet, for example. We then can book that, rent that for a couple of minutes, take some pictures in the private jet, and then maybe go to the next spot, to the next film set in kind of a scenery of like a hotel room in the, I don't know, 60th floor or so, right? Just to fake that you've made it and that you're so successful. Right. And that's why I have so many trust issues also with those Instagram filters. Everyone is now undergoing plastic surgery because everyone doesn't really like what it is that they are seeing anymore because they are spoiled by the Instagram filters. And what it is that they are seeing in the mirror doesn't really reflect what they are actually then posting. And then they are talking about self-love and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. That's why I have such a big issue and problem in believing what it is that I'm seeing on social media anymore. Or like, and that once again applies to so many things and falls back to also then fitness of like
fake weights.
Not only that, but it's more like, okay, was this actually the reason why that person looks the way that he does? And also, if even the biggest, the best looking people in the world are being exposed by people such as Goob, that they are photoshopping their images, even though that they are standing on the Mr. Olympia stage. How should we actually get to a point where we are then satisfied with our looks?
Yeah,
it's impossible.
I think that really actually the message that I don't think was drilled home from that, but the message I think most people should take from that is even the best of the best aesthetically, like he won the men's physique, whatever title at that competitive show, even the best of the best still aren't feeling satisfied with the way they look. Yeah. It's like I don't know if that's the take home, but like, if any of us feel slightly dissatisfied with how we're looking, like just know that as you try and look better, it's unlikely you're going to solve that. And it has to be solved through some other way. Yeah. You have to love yourself like through other conditions versus once I get that 6-pack, I'm going to love myself. It's like you'll look at your 6-pack and think, man, I look skinny.
Yes, that's true.
You got to find self-love somewhere else. You got to accept yourself somehow else, because even the most jacked people have some of the most jacked people have the biggest insecurities possible, and that's why they're so jacked, because they're like, somehow the insecurities will go if I keep getting bigger.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's why it's also often so hard to decipher what is helpful and what is just there for clickbait and for kind of engagement clicks and kind of engagement fishing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And in the end, it's something that I even said on one of my Instagram posts. The people who have been in the game the longest are often the most relaxed, I've found, when it comes to training and nutrition. They just enjoy training and taking care of nutrition. And in that process, they are then just like pushing themselves. And it's not so much about anymore like, oh, I need that 6-pack, because they kind of have it already and they know that it's not as important for them anymore. It's more about then the experience and the sensation that they are getting from, or the satisfaction from training itself and from the entire journey. And those who are desperate of making it, they are often the most extreme and the most anxious, what I found.
Yeah, I think you get to a place of just, as a natural bodybuilder in particular, I think, of like acceptance. Where it's like, you just accept it's going to be fucking slow. And you just have to, therefore, you can't focus on it all the time. And you just have to embrace that process and enjoy it as much as possible. And that actually relates back to a post I made yesterday, where it became very obvious to me because of the statistics surrounding podcasts, where it was like, to be in the top like 5% of podcasts, you just need to keep producing podcasts for more than like a month or some stupid statistic. I can't remember exactly, but so many podcasters drop off after like 10 episodes. So if you keep going past that, you are now in the top 5%. And I think it's the same for a lot of like natural physiques. The reason the best natural physiques are the ones doing it the longest is because so many people just give up. Like, if you just don't give up, if you just keep going, as long as you're not just putting effort towards like nothing, it's likely that you're going to become above average by putting in above average time into the thing that you're trying to do. You think about any endeavor, you almost don't have to be above, like to be above average isn't that hard, because you just have to do it a little bit longer than what most people do. And most people don't put in much. So it's actually not that challenging. So, and that's where it comes to that kind of, okay, people who have been training for a decade, or suddenly they have good genetics. And it's like, or maybe they've been training a decade and that makes them look above average. And that's where like that above average genetics looks like. Anyway, it's I just like it gave me solace, and I think you're very much the same with like, just persevere.
Yeah. And also, by the way, I think it has become a negative thing nowadays to be average. Whenever also there falls back to then social media and how people present themselves, and also something that we've talked about like last week when I listened to the what was the podcast name again with Chris Williamson?
Modern Wisdom.
Yeah, Modern Wisdom. The Modern Wisdom podcast that especially males need to nowadays present themselves as being attractive, being very successful when it comes to then their jobs, still being young, still being caring, still have time, being adventurous and all that kind of stuff. So they need to present themselves in the best light possible. I'm not saying that it isn't the case for females, but I'm a male. That's more so what I can
your perspective,
relate to.
Yeah.
And being average doesn't cut it anymore, it appears, at least for the vast majority of people. They have the feeling that they need to be more than average. They can't be mediocre, because mediocrity is kind of the devil's work. Right? And it's so fucked up if you really think about it, because what's wrong with that? It's just a representation that other people have shown us, an illusion that has been created. And if you take a look around yourself and just go out on the streets, you actually then see what life really is and what people really look like and the jobs that most people do. Social media, and everyone kind of knows it, but always forgets about it whenever they are in that glamorous world. But it impacts you and your perception of like, I can't be mediocre. I can't be average. I need to be more than this. And I think that especially when it comes to physique sports, if you are average, like in bodybuilding terms, you already look better than probably 95% or even more, 99% of the people in the world. It's just the sample that you're taking to which you compare yourself to.
Yeah.
And of course, if you compare yourself to IFBB pros, man, you look like shit, that's for sure. But that's totally all right, because you still look better than 99% of the global population.
It comes back, like the average of your social media feed is not average at all. That's like the fact you're seeing these individuals is because they are above average, because people want, like, average doesn't look like sexy. Average isn't a lot of what people are posting. People are seeing above average. And it's just, I think Eric Helm said it like a while ago. He's like generally people that compete in bodybuilding are above average, and they probably have above average genetics in general, because if you didn't, you probably wouldn't go to that point, potentially, at least certainly above average.
Yeah, and even this, Steve, I know that our industry and our niche is guilty of that as well, because I can think of many people who have probably talked about it at some point in one of their Instagram posts as well, of like, I don't want to be average, I don't want to be mediocre. Where it's like we stigmatize it as well, and we are guilty of putting kind of a stamp on it.
Yeah.
Right? And we are part of the problem. to that extent. And I don't think it is, and I've never really thought about it before our conversation now, but I think it's not appropriate to frame it that way. Because if you are trying to improve yourself, and if you try to not be the very best, because it's kind of, you're disillusioned when you think that you can become the best bodybuilder in the world. Only a handful of people can actually pull this off. And you wouldn't be that disillusioned when it comes to, I don't know, any other sport. If you can't really run fast, you're probably not going to be the fastest person in the world or compete at the Olympics or anything alike. And that's totally right. If you enjoy running, then you would still probably go out and run. And I don't know why it has to be like this, that you need to strive for more than average in bodybuilding terms to enjoy the entire journey. I think it is, in my opinion, just a wrong message that is being put out there. It is once again that hardcore bodybuilding mentality. I can't possibly be average because that is just something that hardcore people don't do and accept. And I think it's wrong.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, because my post yesterday was quite literally saying, do you want to be above average, you have to put in above average efforts. I don't think there's anything wrong with striving to be above average.
No.
I think it's more the framing of it, where it's like, if you are average, it's not me saying you suck. It's, if you want to be above average, that is your goal, then you need to put in more than what the average person probably puts in, because that's how averages work. I think that's kind of the message. It's the same with like income, like things like this, like it is that kind of toxic, like you can call it toxic, like work culture. And I have it, and we've spoken about it before, where if I don't feel like I'm constantly busy in the day, or like I haven't earned free time, or like to do something that isn't something that feels productive. And I don't think that's a good thing. I should be able to like just do something that makes me happy. And it doesn't have to be work. It can be something else. Yeah, I think that's kind of the message you were saying, is like, it's not that you're bad if you're average. It's just like that's kind of a bit of a false.
Yeah,
falsehood.
Exactly. It is the framing that is the problem here. It is not striving to become better. Because if you're striving to become better, you will most likely, just due to the sheer amount of time that you're investing, if you invest more than the vast majority of people, you will probably at some point be above average in your field. There will always, though, be people that are better than you, right? But the more time you've spent in that field, practicing and trying to get better, of course, you will increase the likelihood that you are then kind of climbing up the ladder and becoming better and better. But also, once again, there is nothing wrong in just like saying, hey, take a look at myself. If you really think about it, I'm average, and I'm totally fine with that. Because once again, I think it has just gotten such a bad connotation over the years, because everyone now needs to be something special. And that is the irony in it, Steve, because nowadays everyone wants to be unique, everyone wants to be special, and yet everyone falls in line and becomes a slave of, for example, the algorithm, because that's the only dictator that is then kind of dictating the lives of those people. And by then, falling in line for the algorithm, they are actually then uniform again. Yeah. And not unique.
Yeah. No, it's so true. It's scary to think. I don't know when I was talking about it, but it might have been with like Charlotte. We may have even brought it up last time. I'm not sure. But just thinking about like screens and social media and TV, and like the amount of time that I'm looking at a screen versus looking into space. I don't know. I wouldn't want to know how the percentage difference between a screen to like just space. Yeah. Because even when I'm at the gym, well, my training's in my like phone, so I'm looking at my screen to logbook it. That's probably the majority. The most time I spend not looking at a screen apart from asleep is probably actually when I'm training. Because when I'm eating, normally I'm watching some TV. Working, it's all in front of a screen. When I'm sitting on the toilet, too often I take my phone and I'm just sat on my phone. Yeah. When I go for a walk outside, too often I take my phone with me and I'm looking at my phone. Fuck my life.
Once again,
it feels wrong.
It feels wrong, but it's also because we still know a different world. Especially you and I, we are still coming from the generation where we know the world without smartphones, without constant internet connection. In itself, I think that there are so many pros for having constant internet connection, especially the vast majority of knowledge that you have at your fingertips now is freaking amazing. But of course, there's especially the social component to it that is then suffering due to that. Because now, whenever people are alone by themselves, waiting at a specific spot or so, let's just say you are sitting at the bar, which is never really happening to us anymore. But nowadays, people are now sitting on their phone, spending their time there. And by that, they're shutting themselves off and closing themselves off of being approachable for someone else. And I think in scenarios like these, you could probably meet quite interesting people and get into fantastic conversations, maybe then increase your horizon because you are then talking to people that you would have never talked to unless you are there without a phone and stuff like this, right? And this makes me kind of sad, but it could also be that I'm a boomer now, and that is just nostalgia speaking rather than kind of where the future is heading.
Do you not see the progress you would like? Are you sick of writing your own programs? Or perhaps you need some accountability in order to stick with a plan? Then it's time to start working with us. We at Revive Stronger offer a truly personalized coaching service. You'll get more than just an email with some macros or random cookie cutter program. With Revive Stronger, you will be the center of our attention. You will receive your own fully individualized training protocol alongside a customized nutritional strategy. We created the coaching around your needs, wants, personal preferences, and your own unique lifestyle. Every single week, we delve into your program in order to make appropriate adjustments so that we get the most out of your time and the best possible outcome. We help both female and male athletes to seriously change their body composition by adding more muscle mass and decreasing fat tissue. No matter if you're a competitive bodybuilder or just want to look better, if you need help with your progress and taking your physique to the next level, our coaching is for you. It's time to make a change. Sign up today and let's revive stronger.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I think even on, again, to bring up the Modern Wisdom podcast, I think he talked to someone about making friends, like in your adult years. Maybe that came up. Because it's interesting to me, at least, because I work from home. And again, like so much of my career is based around like screens and I'm introverted. Like I don't have many opportunities to make new friends. And it's like quite an isolating job. So a lot of my... and I think for introverts, like social media can draw you almost into yourself, where it has the benefit of, okay, now I have lots of social connections online, which is cool that I wouldn't have had otherwise. But does that take me away from connections I could have been making in person? I think for an extrovert, that online connection probably isn't enough, I imagine. I'm just imagining. I don't actually know. And so then they try and make friends in real life, but in real life, it's all real life, of course. But yeah, it's just an interesting thought. Like so much of my social time with people is, again, watching client check-ins, responding, chatting to you here, doing the podcast. It's all online. Actual speaking to people in person is so much less. I don't know if I like that. Totally.
And I mean, communicating via digitally, not via, but communicating digitally versus communicating in person are two completely different things. And if you have never practiced talking then offline, there's an awkwardness, and that makes you less confident and then approaching other people and then talking and also listening and the interaction between people in a scenario like this. It's very interesting, but at the same time, we're not experts on this one. I think that there are social behavioral experts that can talk much, much better about this. It's in itself very, very interesting though.
I have a question to bring it back. Where is you're in a gaining phase right now?
Yes.
How has your weight been moving? Have you had to eat more?
Yeah, 80.5 now, which was interesting because I thought that I've stepped away from the scale of being detached, but it's always those milestones, those bigger numbers, which have a psychological effect on humans. This is also the case in finances or investing as well. There are just like round, bigger numbers do something to your psychology. And it's kind of the same thing here as well when it comes to the scale weight. Crossing the 80 kilograms was easy to some extent, but also not easy in that given moment where it's like, oh, stepped on the scale, saw for the first time in a very, very long time, an 8 in front as the first number. Was weird. It was weird. I mean, you still continue doing things. It's kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to say the comparison because I think it's inappropriate. But you experience something that you don't really like, but at the same time, you just take it as it is because the world keeps spinning. Nothing really changes, you know that. But at the same time, it makes you feel a little bit weird and uncomfortable in the given moment. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, I get you, for sure. And I think but once you're through it, you kind of slowly become detached from it again. Yeah. And then your new normal is moving through the 80s.
That's the thing.
That'll be cool. How much is that? I can't actually remember what your stage weight ends up being, but that's not crazy over.
No, but at the same time, it's nearly close to 10 kilograms now. So the lowest weight that I had was, all right, it was 72.3. But that's already now more than 1.5 years ago. Right. Yeah. So yeah. And if you really think about it, and also in pounds terms, I'm now at around like 20 pounds. And if I'm then at 10 kilograms, I'm 22 pounds above stage weight. And if you were to consider that I don't think that I was my very leanest, subtract another 2 kilograms from then the 72.3 to make it to very lean levels. Right now, sitting at around like above 20 pounds stage weight. Yeah. And I think that's totally fine.
Yeah. No, we're in a very, very similar spot. Yeah. Because I've had some weigh-ins that I use pounds, but basically I'm just under 20 pounds above like stage, well, around 20 pounds. Let's just say it's about 20 pounds. So very similar spot to you. So it's actually really funny that, again, like last time we mentioned, we both have another mass planned. Yeah. Probably gain another like 2 pounds, 3 pounds, something, and then cut down for 10 weeks. I was almost contemplating, I think I saw someone just on my feed, he did a photo shoot, like he was a competitor, but he was in his off season, hasn't competed for a long time, did a 10-week cut, did a photo shoot. I was like, man, after a 10-week cut, I can imagine a photo shoot, that look being pretty cool. I was like, mate, that could be, maybe if I find a cool photographer and it works out, I might consider that, just to have some great photos for social media.
Especially you, Steve, right? Because for a photo shoot, you're probably not just like photographing your lower half, which is fat for you in that case, but your upper half most of the time, which is looking quite great with then the abs popping out and all that kind of stuff. Probably then even chest striations if you were to cut down a little bit. Oh. And then you already look very good for a photo shoot, right?
Yeah, I think if I was to do, I can't think where my weight will be, but I don't think I'll be much more than, I'll be less than 10 pounds above stage weight at that point. So it's like almost the look you want for a photo shoot. Yeah. Not like, I don't know, stage threaded is nice, but if you're a bit fuller, a little bit softer, it can look a bit better, I think, for a photo shoot. And it's more appealing for most people. Like, you always get comments where it's like, oh, I prefer you like a bit higher than stage condition. I do as well. That look is better. It's cooler. It's bigger. So yeah, that could work quite nicely. And my legs should have some definition. Yeah. Glutes will.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I mean. For a photo shoot, you're not like there in posing trunks or anything. Like, it's more like, I don't know, board shorts, doing a little bit of, I don't know, tricep push downs. What is it that they are doing always? Kind of pull ups and all that kind of stuff. That typical jazz, you know.
If I had that's what I wouldn't want a traditional photo shoot like that, because I've had 2 of those, and Simon Howard does great work, but I just those are a bit overdone for me. And he's probably like gone into other stuff, but I want to get something a bit unique. I don't want your like traditional one, maybe even one outside of a gym, like
funny enough,
in nature.
Steve, a couple of years ago, and I'm still contemplating with a thought every now and then, because as you know, I was coming from the photography industry more so as a retoucher, but I was also taking pictures myself, and I still do, but more so just from my family, right? Whenever I see those kind of normal, typical gym photo shoots, to each their own, of course, I think it's a great accomplishment and achievement to have made it and to have those pictures for yourself, because it's kind of just like the cherry on top of the pie, right? You are rewarding yourself by the end of your journey with those pictures. Me personally, though, coming from a creative background, I'm not the biggest fan of those type of photo shoots because all of them look the same. And I was very much contemplating a couple of years ago of like offering and starting to think about offering kind of fitness photography, but then with more of a creative touch to it.
Have you got an example? Have you got like some inspiration for me of a shot that you'd like to do?
No, but more interest. So different lighting, more interesting lighting, different kind of poses. Not so much, maybe like, oh right, now put your hand on the dumbbell rack. Now take the other dumbbell in your hand and do as if you're rowing and look angrily into the mirror. Those typical shots I don't like. It's more like, all right, you do your thing and I do my thing in the background. More, well, something like street photography, where you don't know that you are being taken or that someone is taking pictures of you.
I imagine some of the reason why the photos become a lot the same is because the skill of posing on the person that's being
true.
Like,
yes,
taking the photos of, like, you need to have a good skill set for poses.
Absolutely.
Like, and you need Terrence Ruffin, then you can get some great shots.
Totally. And I know also the limitations of it, and I'm also very well aware of that many people, they're how should I put it? Because it sounds like condescending, and this is not what I want to say or put across, but I know the sense for aesthetics when it comes to pictures, art, and all the kind. I'm not an artsy person. If I were to go into an art museum, I have no fucking idea what's going on there, honestly. So that's not what I'm saying. But of course, having worked in photography and also in the fashion business with that, you create a certain sense for aesthetics and for what looks good competition, compositions, good lighting, all that kind of stuff, right? And many people don't have that sense for aesthetics, and that's totally all right because they never really need to use that. It's kind of like, I don't know, school math. How many people actually need that when they are growing up?
Yeah, for sure.
Very few people.
I think that's also why having a photographer who's like trains themselves and is in the industry will really help. Like Simon, as an example, because he trains and stuff. But when I get like Charlotte to take a photo of me, like if I'm trying to get her to get a good physique shot, she is. I'm like, do I look good in that? And she's like, yeah. And then she takes it. she shows me. I'm like, I look like complete shit. My waist looks like so big, and I'm like, no. It's just like, oh, I thought it looked good. And I'm just Steve, like, no, you just don't get it at all.
Maybe we should just experiment and do this together. I take some pictures of you, see whether you like it, whether the people like it, and then we can start a photography business.
I'm down. The sad thing is that I wouldn't be able to take probably good photos of you when
that's true.
After your 10-week.
That's why you would need to take care of all the appointments and the financial things.
Where else was I going to go with this? I had a thought in my mind. It's completely gone. No, well, yeah. Just completely blank. I'm thinking I haven't had enough coffee today. I haven't had any coffee
Steve.
today.
We're coming up on time anyway. This episode was an interesting one, I have to say.
Yeah, I don't even know what we really spoke about.
Exactly.
I didn't even know you introduced us last time, and I put on a hat and took off a hat.
Also, I don't know how much about fitness we actually talked here in this episode.
No. That's the trouble when we try and too many back to back.
exactly. The thing is, if I now were to apologize at the end of an episode,
It's really not useful.
It's definitely not useful.
They've got too far in.
Exactly. When they are now in, it's just like, oh, sorry. Yeah, you already listened to the entire episode now.
One thing.
Go ahead.
One thing I thought was useful, you kind of talked about fake news, and I am just continuously shocked. I just wanted to bring this up because it was one Goob did on this woman, and this is just that sense of you don't know if someone's lying, and like just the games people play on social media. Because she was, I think you saw her probably, she was sharing Goob's posts of him calling people out, but she was editing her shit, and she was calling people for editing their shit.
Yeah.
And she's using these like people can now do videos and put a filter on themselves.
Yeah,
so you can't even take a video and be like, oh, it's unfiltered, look, it's a video, because the filter can, like, yeah, Goob's good at being able to catch when it pops on and off. But I'm like, wow, that's crazy that like video filters are that good. Because they used to be, if you weren't precisely in it, like as soon as you moved, it would like completely falter. But now it moves with you.
There has been one specific filter that has come out like a couple of months ago that just shocked so many people because I mean, honestly, it just turns you into a model. And it's so hard to detect that it's on. You really need to focus hard in order to detect it. And it's shocking. And I mean, we could go down the rabbit hole, how much of a psychological destruction that creates. Because if you see yourself constantly with that look and then see yourself in the mirror, there's a direct correlation, of course, with dissatisfaction of your own personal look. And that's why plastic surgery has skyrocketed over the past couple of years. And I think that filters like these only make it much, much worse, to be honest.
Yeah. And I guess to relate it back to like bodybuilding and the physical endeavor, that's why I find it's very hard to like fake big muscles. Like you have to have put in some work to have got those. Yeah. I obviously when you take PEDs and you can grow muscle without even training, whatever, but you're never going to get but great physique that way.
Yeah, but you also then need to be lucky, genetically speaking, to respond very well to those drugs.
Sure.
And or you need to take a shit ton. And then you can actually then see the irony in it, because then you say like, all right, then deceive all the other people because you will pass away 20 years earlier anyway. So have your fun now, do this kind of shit, and you pay the consequences later.
Here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why I think that when it comes to anabolic steroid use, you still need to be lucky and or do irresponsible things. And then you can make the argument of like, all right, then you pay the consequences for your bad behavior. Anyway.
Yeah. There's nothing like that comes for free. There's so many things that are just so much out, like even money, like you can have all the money in the world, but you still can never have Ronnie Coleman's genetics. No. He's still going to have
Except for this, you also have to pay money. The London Seminar 23, just as a quick reminder, tickets still available if you want to train with Mike, Jared, Nick, Steve, and I'm not coaching there, but I will still be present. Then you can get the training. Yeah, I can coach you. Then you can book in some training sessions there. Once again, just as a reminder, it is extremely exclusive. And there was someone actually reaching out, Lucas, over on Discord, saying like, okay, Pascal, tell me a little bit about the London Seminar, right? And I was just saying, all right, I'm definitely biased for sure, because I'm one of the organizers and benefiting from that monetarily speaking. But even if I wasn't an organizer, and I know what this sounds like because people always do this kind of shit, I would still purchase the ticket because it's an opportunity that you can't get anytime or anywhere else. Can't get it via online coaching or anything alike, and they don't even offer consultations anymore, like privately. I mean, Jared, perhaps, I would imagine, I don't know, but Mike doesn't do this anymore, and you have then 2 hours basically by yourself with those individuals. I mean, for me personally, it's a no-brainer, but once again, the value, you have to decide for yourself whether it's worth it for you or not.
Yeah, I think it's that the networking aspect is so valuable in for itself, and then just it could be the session you needed to bring all the kind of knowledge that you've taken in from us Like you get to put it into practice with us there, so you can't not get it right, you know, and that could just set off the rest of your training career. Could be invaluable in that sense.
Exactly. Cool.
Perfect. Yeah, so definitely check out the link in the bio, and hopefully we see you there.
Absolutely. Guys, cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Losing weight fast while maintaining muscle mass. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? It isn't though. It's reality and we know how to do it. And we will help you achieve this. The Minicut Movement is an 8-week fat loss program to make you lose a huge chunk of fat while maintaining muscle mass at the same time. We will support you from the beginning to the end so that you see the results you would like to and come out of it much stronger. You'll receive a fully automated spreadsheet that is based on your nutritional needs. You can choose between 6 different male and female training templates. Over 30 videos will guide you through each and every single step of the Minicut so that you're getting the most out of your journey and that you always know what to do. But the best thing is that you can start whenever you want. The Minicut Movement is open 24/7. So if you want to learn more or you're ready to sign up, hit the link in the description below. So let's revive stronger together.